Hello there. I'm here in Brantford, Connecticut by the ocean. Sometimes I forget that my hometown is just a 15-minute drive from the coast. This is Long Island Sound, so it's not the open ocean, but it's really nice to be by water. I find that it's very calming. Sometimes I tend to have too much fire energy in my character, and I get just a little bit maybe intense and excited and overwhelmed. And so I've been really intentional with trying to get out and be near water every day, and just in nature in general. And it's interesting how intentional one has to be with it, because it's easy to go through the day inside four walls, even in the summertime. So being that I am not working currently in a 9-to-5 routine, I'm really taking advantage and just getting out in the day, every day outside. And I just want to talk about such an infinite abundance of topics. But I think one thing that comes to mind is the idea of using your voice, having your throat chakra open. So a lot of people, and I would venture to say especially women, are socialized to not use our voice and to sort of be afraid or not know how to communicate our highest truth to someone else, either because we might be afraid of someone's reaction to it, or we don't actually know how to say those things that might be emotionally charged or uncomfortable in some way. And what I've noticed is that creates a lot of lack of communication, which invites people assuming things about each other and just using their own projection of their own reality onto the other person. Something like, well, if I were to behave that way, I would feel like this, and then assuming that that's true for the other person. And also just a lot of feelings that get silenced and that get inverted into the physical body and against oneself. So being able to really state your truth is something that is very empowering, and you can practice this in so many different ways. And as a woman, for example, I receive uninvited attention at times. For example, I stopped at the gas station and some guy was talking to me, but really was not wanting to communicate anything in particular. He was just, I felt interested in my physical body and was just making small talk. And I was on my way out and I had somewhere to be, and there's this narrative that we have to be nice, and while, to be civil and polite is ideal, when someone is disrespecting you, like not acknowledging you as a full person and tuning into what you're expressing to them, like I was getting in my car and about to leave, this guy was just rambling. I took it upon myself to just say, you know what, I'm not interested in having this conversation right now with you. I have things to do and I will be going about my day. And now that could have been taken as rude, but it was my truth. And I didn't communicate it in a way so to hurt his feelings. It was just saying that I am not desiring to put my energy into this interaction right now, and I have the right to do that. So another example of using the throat chakra that surfaced for me recently is reading the letter by the young woman who was sexually assaulted at Stanford University by that guy, and was all over the news in the past week, and a lot of people read her words. And even though the case is absurdly unjust and it's incredibly unfair and offensive that they gave this guy 6 months in jail for assaulting someone, but we all heard her, and many of us who read her words were touched and were inspired. And I hope that she found healing through that. So I had an interaction one time where I felt violated by a man, and there was alcohol involved. And I felt really upset and really hurt by what had happened. And when I went to talk to him about it, he would just interrupt me and just say something like, I didn't know, I'm sorry, I was drunk. You were drunk, I didn't know, I'm sorry. And literally like that, like I couldn't even get my words out to be heard before he would come at me with those words to kind of just get me to be quiet. And that went on for a few months as I was internally processing what had happened to me. on many levels, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and I was not at peace with it. I wasn't able to feel at peace. So I continued trying to talk to him, and he would just say things like, you always bring this up, why do we always talk about this? And I was venturing to say, well, you don't really reach out to me otherwise to talk in general, and I am not over this that happened, and I need you to hear me. And he kept sort of not being present with me, to the point that I came to a place where I needed to offer him an ultimatum, because this was a guy I'd known for a long time and went to school with him, and I'd met, his family, and I know that overall, like, he's not a bad person. He's a pretty great person. But in this interaction between man and woman, there was sexual assault, and there was not consent, and it was not okay. And so I had to sit him down and say, look, I know you as a person, as a human being, as a good person, but right now as a man, I feel a lot of anger and pain from you and your behavior. And we had a lot of mutual friends, and I reached a point where I was like, I'm gonna have to tell our friends what's going on, what happened, so that I can be heard. I would rather deal with this between you and I, and have you acknowledge what happened. But if you're not letting me speak, and you're not honestly listening to me, then I don't feel heard, and I don't feel comfortable just acting as if nothing happened. And he sort of responded to that potential consequence and sat down, and I asked him to just please listen and not respond at all. I mean, like, not talk. And I told him my side of the story, what had happened to me afterwards, and processing, and how much it had affected me. And I could see and feel and sense that he actually was listening. He actually heard me that time, and he actually was like feeling pain within himself. And that my intention wasn't to make him hurt, but it was to show him that even if he didn't mean to, it had a consequence. It caused pain. And he finally heard me, and he actually apologized, like a true heartfelt apology, where he did not just dismiss what he had done, but he owned it. And I felt that exchange. And after that, I was able to be much more at peace with it. And so I hope that this young woman who wrote that letter that was read by thousands and thousands of people, that she got some peace from that and some healing from that experience, because she deserves it. And that courage of speaking up is what we all need to start practicing.